This is the desert fox. So many wonderful and important things happened in the desert. We need to know what it is like. You can't get the whole desert in our classroom, so here is just a little piece of the desert. The desert is a dangerous place. It is always moving, so it is hard to know where you are. There is little water, so you can get thirsty, and you can die if no water is found. Almost nothing grows there, so there is almost nothing to eat. In the daytime, it is hot and the sun scorches your skin. In the night, it is cold. When the wind blows, the sand stings your skin when it hits you. People wear many clothes to protect them from the sun and the blowing sand. The desert is a dangerous place. People do not go into the desert unless they have to. When the flood was over, the creatures went out in all 4 directions of the earth to fill it up with life again. They often gathered along the rivers. The people lived in small villages and then cities. One of the most ancient and greatest of these cities was called Ur. In the city of Ur, the people believed that there were many gods. There was a god for every tree, every rock, every flower. There was a god of the sky, the clouds, the water, and the land. The world was alive with gods. But there was one family that believed that all of God was in every place. They did not yet know that, but that is what they believed. Abram and his wife Sarai were part of that family. When it came time to move to a new place, they were not sure that God would be there. They also wondered what the new place would be like. They walked toward Haran with their sheep, their donkeys, and their many helpers. Even the old people and all the children went too. They slept in their tents at night, and during the day, they walked along the great river called the Euphrates. It showed them the way to go and gave them and all their animals water to drink. It took a long, long time. Finally, they met people coming out from Haran. They knew the journey was almost over. Then they were there. Sometimes Abram would go out to the edge of the desert and look out across the sand and into the sky. Then God came so close to Abram, and Abram came so close to God that he knew what God wanted him to do. God wanted Abram and Sarai to move on again to another new place. And God said, I will make of you a great family. I will bless you, and you will be a blessing. Abram and Sarai did what God said. They went into the desert to the west of Haran and walked toward Canaan. They went with all their sheep, their tents, and many helpers. This time there was no river to show them the way or to give them water to drink. They finally came to a place called Shechem. Abram climbed up a hill and prayed to God, and God was there. So Abram built an altar to mark the place. Then they went on. Next, they came to a place near Bethel. Abram prayed again, and God was there also. Abram built an altar to mark this place too. God was not just here and there. All of God was everywhere. Then they went on to Hebron to make their home near the oaks of Mamre. One night, God brought Abram outside. He looked up into the sky. God came so close to Abram, and Abram came so close to God, that Abram knew what God was saying. You will become the father of a great family, and Sarai will be the mother. The members of the great family will be as many as there are stars in the sky and grains of sand in the desert. Abram laughed. He and Sarai were very old. God's promise sounded impossible, but God said to change their names anyway. Abram was to be Abraham, the father of many, and Sarai was to be called Sarah. One day, 3 strangers came out of the desert. Abraham was sitting by his tent. He invited them in, and Sarah mixed 3 measures of flour, which was a lot. She gave them bread and meat to eat, and milk and water to drink, as was the custom. They told Abraham that he and Sarah would have a son. Sarah was standing by the tent, and she heard them and laughed. They were too old. The 3 strangers went on their way. Do you know what happened? Abraham and Sarah had a son. They laughed again. So they named the baby Laughter. In their language, the word for laughter is Isaac. When the boy was grown, old Sarah, who was now full of many years and very, very tired, died. She was buried in the cave near the oaks of Mamre. Abraham was lonely. He missed Sarah very much, but he had one more thing that he had to do. He sent his most trusted helper back to the land of his people to find a wife for Isaac. Abraham's helper stopped by a well in the evening. A young woman named Rebekah offered him water to drink and helped him give water to his animals. She was as full of courage as she was kindness. Rebekah then invited him to meet her family. He told her family about Abraham and Sarah and the great family. Rebekah decided she would like to be part of that great family. So they went across the desert. Past Shechem and Bethel towards Hebron. Isaac saw them coming and came out to meet them. Then Isaac and Rebekah were married. Old Abraham was now very old and full of years. He died and was buried with Sarah in a cave by the trees. Then Isaac and Rebekah had children, and their children had children, and those children had children, and this kept happening until your grandparents had your parents, and until your parents had you. Now we are all part of the great family, which has become as many as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand in the desert. Now, I wonder what part of this story you liked best. I wonder what part is the most important. I wonder where you are in this story, or what part of this story is about you. I wonder if there's any part of this story that we can leave out and still have all of the story that we need.